So, Volodymyr, let us know what are the next steps of the Ukrainian delegation? What are the demands at this stage? What do you think is still could be done?
Well, after all, what have happened last week in the Council, in the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, the only one way is to be developed the relations between Ukraine and Parliamentary Assembly. Is revise our relations. And tomorrow morning we will be having the meeting of the Committee for Foreign Affairs and as well Bureau of the Parliament to discuss the proposals, and one of them is to withdraw an invitation for Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe to take part in the observation mission on snap elections in Ukraine on July 21st. As well as we will be recommending to the Speaker of Parliament, Andrei Parubi, to cancel his participation in annual meeting of the heads of the parliament that should hold on in Strasbourg in September. Well, we are going now to discuss the possible resolution of Ukrainian Parliament in regard of the possible suspending of our participation in the current session of the Council of Europe. But I would like to go ahead too much. So our clear vision now that that violation of the principles and values, the breakdown of the principles values that have happened in the Council of Europe should not remain unanswered, and the answer might be in the very, very proper way.
Still, you mentioned, for instance, the snap elections and not a participation of the delegation as observation. Can you argue for your position? How would it help to, stop Russia? Doesn't just make things worse, particularly for the Ukrainian elections, and maybe it would also remind us the thinking behind the idea to get out of the participation at the Council of Europe of the Ukrainian delegations, which the critics of this decision would say that it leaves Ukraine not influencing the Parliament Assembly.
I would like to underscore that the crucial important to not to remain this situation unanswered. What kind of dialogue or influence we have to remain if the body is entrusted, this body as a parliamentary assembly is very seriously undermined. By the way, I would like to ask you, how would you like to probably to invite and to welcome Russian parliamentarians for Ukrainian observation missions, when the state that made clear aggression against Ukraine now could possibly send their parliamentarians to observe Ukrainian elections, and these kind of our obstacles that we said that it's a serious obstacle not to do that, but it was ignored by the Assembly. So we should do in the proper way. But one situation remains, as well as my challenge to Russian credentials, still alive. And we're waiting for the results of the Venice Commission that should answer, does parliamentarians elected by nationwide constituency in Russian Federation, do they are real parliamentarians, as well as they were elected within the boats of annexed Crimea? So we need to suspend our participation in this election, in this part session, and since the next year, I think we can revise this decision if Venice Commission decides about the presence of possibility of presence of parliamentarians that were elected within the votes of Crimean.
Can you please nail down, so what are the conditions for the Ukrainian delegation? I know you kind of, there would be the elections in Ukraine, so there would be the maybe parliament delegation change. Still, at this stage, what are the conditions for the Ukrainian delegation to return?
I wouldn't like to go ahead, as I've said before, as well as we will be discussing it tomorrow. But the crucial things that Council of Europe should provide with the Russian Federation, the execution of things that were promised. First of all, we were deceived by Council of Europe, by Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, when they said that only significant steps should be a condition for full restoring of Russian Federation delegation rights. So it hadn't happened. So all our delegation, not only our delegation, others that were joining us were felt cheated. So very important if Council of Europe goes with the Russian Federation to execute something like a release of Marines and vessels, release of political prisoners, and establish control over the situation with the rights of Crimean Tatars. It's a minimum request from our side should be.
Okay, so thanks a lot for clarification, and we will have the discussion in the studio with your colleagues.